your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. Welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I am Richard Dugan, and my very special guest here on the program is joining us to talk about one of the very pillars that we bring up every single program, and it has to do with the decade of perfect vision, ladies and gentlemen, having to do with asking you, encouraging you, cajoling you, whatever other words I can come up with, to spend some time going within and listening to that still small voice. We are asking you to open to divine intervention, expand and strengthen your intuition, your intuitive abilities, and spiritual connection with, is it Karoleen Fober?
Karoleen, yes.
Karoleen,
Fober.
A long E there because it's double E's. Karoleen Fober, thank you so much for joining us.
You're so welcome. I'm excited to be here.
You and me both. I talk about that, as I mentioned, all the time. It's one of, as I said, one of our pillars to this program, along with giving people choices and knowledge of those choices to help make their dreams come true, and talking about new paradigms for a new world, along with looking for those new ways of living, because the old ways don't work. And one of those new ways has to do with, and I'm curious as to your observations on society at large, if more and more people are beginning to listen to that still small voice, but not just listen, follow the promptings.
Yes, I really believe so. I think it's gotten more prevalent and that people are awakening. They've had experiences. They've had the inklings. They feel it in their body, and there's no denying it. And after that point, you can start accepting it. And it's very exciting because we talk about the new paradigm. I actually like to remind people it's actually the beginning paradigm. This spiritual communication is our natural, original language. So we arrive here and we are these spiritual beings in a body and trying to get everything figured out. And so somewhere about the age of 6 to 8, people kind of let that spiritual communication go on the back burner. It never goes away. It just doesn't get used, maybe ignored, maybe questioned, and the full culture doesn't quite accept it and acknowledge it. When that starts happening, which it has, we now have TV shows about it. We're having podcasts about it, lots of books about it. And for sure, everybody has had moments that they cannot deny where a spiritual realm interaction has happened.
My mother asked me some time ago if I had ever had any supernatural
Mm,
experiences. And I actually had to answer in the negative that if I did have any, they were normal to me.
mm.
And I have to
Yes.
wonder if that is one of those elements that we we often think that, oh, we're going to have fairy dust sprinkled on us, we're going to levitate, we're going to do a lot of the stuff we see in movies and television,
Yeah.
but a lot of times it doesn't work that way. um and divine intervention is something that I was talking with somebody about in regards to a series of events that culminated in a particular outcome, if you will. And I don't believe in coincidence. However, I do believe in coincidences, incidents that coincide. And
Yes.
and things don't just happen, but we don't always know
Right.
the reason why. Is that one of the problems we have? Is we're always asking why did it happen? Why did it go this way? Why did it go that way? And so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you brought up the words coincide and coincidence. Coincidence has been given the meaning by our culture as something that's a fluke that isn't, how do we explain it? And we just kind of throw it off. But coincide does mean to come together perfectly. So these kinds of things are happening all the time. And I love it that you thought it was normal because I would say yes to that if maybe you were again that person that didn't give their spiritual communication system to the back burner, but you kept it alive and maybe towards the forefront. That's exciting. And that's what I try to do is to remind people that it just needs to be restarted. For example, if you really at this point don't believe that it's happening and you do, you believe in intuition, you believe in the spiritual realm, but maybe you don't know what to do with it.
Hmm.
And so you might just say, "Oh yeah, I believe in intuition, but I certainly don't leverage it." So I tell people, if you've never driven a car before, you're going to get in the car and you're going to look around and go, "Well, gee, I think this is this." You're going to look around. But we take 2 years for our society to teach people how to learn to drive. And now when you get in your car or somebody else is driving, they're talking to you. They're thinking about their appointment. They're thinking about the groceries they're going to get. They don't think about what they're doing. And it's the same way. Once you learn more of the tips and the strategies and really understand, oh, yeah, you felt that. Where did you feel it? You're reconnecting. Once you have done that and totally reactivated it, then it becomes very normal. It happens all day long, and it is very, very, very helpful. Whether it's your business, whether it's your health, relationships, or just your personal life and, finding the best parking spot.
I know that a lot of people will take a look at a lot of things going on in the world and ask the question, where in the heck is God? Where's divine intervention when we need it? Why isn't God stepping in to stop this? And so on and so on and so forth.
Right.
And my initial response is the reason there is no divine intervention here is because the divine didn't cause it. So we then have to take responsibility for the way things are. Now, case in point, personal level, 2005, I was working for a local radio station in Phoenix. And the station was owned by a company that had bought another station. Interestingly enough, it was the religious station I had worked for from the early 80s into 95. And this was 2005. So the two stations were in one building, and I was working for the Air America station. Well, I refer to it this way. A Christian consortium came along and wanted to buy both stations. When interviewed by the local newspaper, they were asked, "So, are you going to change the format?" And they said, "Oh, no, no, we're not. We're going to leave it the same because it's making money." Point. Air America Phoenix was making money in 9 months, whereas most of the other Air America stations across the country took a year to a year and a half. Well, because I had worked for this kind of um, mentality, if you will, or attitude or perspective or philosophy for 15 years prior, again, 80s to 95, I knew they were lying. And one of the quotes they would always quote, again, this was back in the 80s, early 90s, was, "Be ye not unequally yoked to unbelievers." Well, of course, Air America Phoenix and all of its workers were allegedly non-believers. And so January, I was told, "Oh yeah, we're flipping the format and we're letting everybody go." And it's like, surprise, surprise. I wasn't. My wife
Because you
then,
knew.
oh yeah, but I knew it was coming, and I wasn't going to look for another job. I was going to see it to the end.
Right.
There was just something in me that says, "Heck, you've got a job for another couple of months. Why press it?" My wife was working in the medical field at Scottsdale Memorial, and on March 1st, which was the day after the end of my time, I get a phone call from her saying I just quit. And in my head, I'm screaming in my head, going, "Do you understand? I'm unemployed too." But I said, "Okay." That evening, we're sitting watching TV. She comes over, sits next to me, says, "I'm scared. I feel like we're on the edge of a precipice." Now, between you and me, Caroline, the phrase, when you come to the edge of a cliff, what do? You jump and you trust. Well, that's what we
Mhm.
did. And that's how we wound up here in Santa Barbara. But here's what's interesting about all of that. There was no fear I had no fear whatsoever throughout that entire process.
I love that.
So to
I,
me, that was not only listening to my intuition, but also there was an element of divine intervention. And I think what really was key for me, and you may have noticed that I said that the religious station that I was working for until 95 was bought by the company that now owned Air America Phoenix. And the moment they started moving into our suite, I said, "Oh, I guess I have unfinished business with these people." So when the station was sold and I didn't go back there after that, my business is complete. And I think that was part of divine intervention. You have tracked over 450 instances of divine intervention. First of all, why?
well, that is a great question. One of the big divine interventions that happened to me was 25 years ago, January 15th of 2000. I was given a divine reading, and I was told that I would write a book and that it would be important for the world. And that really took my breath away. It stunned me. I really it really did put me into a state of shock for that day. And then I kept thinking, well, I don't want to write a book. What am I going to be writing a book about? So I just put it on the back burner, but I kept open. So um, then through time, I was continuing to get divine intervention, and they were amazing. But life's busy. You just keep going. Um, but then fast forward to 2017, I thought, what am I going to do? I'm supposed to be writing a book. And by the way, had been told two additional times in that 17 years that I would be writing a book. And so still a big question mark. But um, I just kept living and I thought, you know what? While I'm waiting to figure out what this book is about, I'm going to start writing down some of these divine interventions because, they're just swirling around, the big ones. And so I thought, I'm just going to I probably have like 15 or 20. I'll start writing them down. Well, in 15 to 20 minutes, I had 30. Then I would go to sleep and I'd wake up. And the next 2 weeks, I had another 20. And I went, oh my gosh. So I packed them in my suitcase, flew to Florida for the winter, took them out at this very desk I'm sitting at. And I started looking at that list, and my body lit up like a Christmas tree. It was like I knew that every single incident and story and experience, if I began to see, a vision, no one else could see it, but I could see them all being intertwined and connected like a gold thread. And I said out loud, oh my God, this is the book. So again, sometimes we're given these, little bits of pieces, but it's given to us in the time that's right for us. So even though that was by that time 18 years later, you see how significant it was to me. I was still paying attention, but then I was guided, and then sitting there with my 50. There's over 80 in the book now. But yes, it's like everything is not meant for right now. You might get a little hint. And of course, some things are meant for right now.
Mm.
There's an example that I had after my mom died and we were cleaning out the house, and I was torn because I thought maybe I should buy the house. Maybe I should buy out my siblings because I love that house. My grandma lived there, my mom and dad lived there. And but I heard a voice, usually from my right ear, and it was no. It was very loud and clear. And I was grateful because there just are times where you have indecision, but by that time for sure, I trusted that, whether we call it the Holy Spirit, our inner wisdom, our main guide angel. Oh, it was loud and clear. And I was so grateful because I was in decision. And indecision is it's one of the most difficult places to be when you're wasting time, you're wasting energy. It even could cause dis-ease in your body. So I was just thrilled that I had opened myself to that, and I heard it loud and clear, and I wasn't going to deny it because that's what a lot of people do. Well, I thought I heard that, and then they move on. So it's a matter truly of knowing that we are in communication, and that when these kinds of things happen, instead of denying it, or I don't know what that was, poo-pooing it, we really need to start going, oh, that's significant. And then I wrote, I started going back into my life. When I was a young person, I started pulling out the stories of my life, and I went, wow. And there's more than 450. I just can't get them all written down in a day. And they happen every day. I'll be walking through the condo here, and I'll be given messages from my clients. So it's very helpful.
Mm. Fascinating. I have often said in regards to my career, which has spanned since the official part of the broadcasting portion, I've worked other places prior, since 1979, August, I have felt that I have always been in the right place at the right time. Do you
Yes.
consider that, which means
Abs
I would be taking a look at a lot of different dominoes falling, so to speak, as divine intervention?
I would almost 100% say yes. And here's why. Because when you are connected, everything starts, I call it going up into the higher frequency. I call it higher frequency living. And when you're there, it's like everything kind of works perfectly, even when you don't always know, or you get a hiccup once in a while, but you just feel like you're on the right track. And so there's four basic ways of getting information, and they can be very subtle, kind of like, I feel like I'm in the right place. I feel good about this decision, to the very, oh, no, do not buy that house. And so we can get feelings. That's the most common, number one. There's knowings where you just know it. You just know things. And then, of course, you can see things visually, and then you can hear things. Taste and smelling are two additional ones. Um, those can happen to a lot of people. I'm thinking of my mom. I smell that cherry pie coming right out of the oven that she used to make. So, yes, I call even that subtle, nice, even feeling. It's like, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, I'm supposed to be talking to this person. Very important. And you don't have to know the whole thing, but it feels just right, like you mentioned.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's fascinating to contemplate all of these, and we're going to continue to contemplate them as we continue talking with our very special guest here on the program who has written, I got to tell you, it's fascinating. I love the title. This is right up our alley here on Tell Me Your Story when it comes to our intuition and so forth. And we hope that you'll stay with us. My very special guest, of course, is the author of Opening to Divine Intervention, Expanding, I should say, Divine Intervention, Expand and Strengthen Your Intuitive Abilities and Spiritual Connection. Author is Karoleen Fober, and yours truly, Richard Dugan, here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan here with Karoleen Fober, and we're talking about divine intervention. I often have a struggle sometimes getting some guests, not all, maybe 1% of the guests that I get. It can take sometimes days or weeks to coordinate schedules, to overcome technical difficulties, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't get frustrated at those. And it's been a long time since I have, because there's something inside of me that says the more challenging it is to get that guest on Tell Me Your Story, the better that interview is going to be. Now, I have been working with quite a number of PR firms, and sometimes they forget to mark it down in their calendar, or I'll double book or whatever.
sure.
Or there's a storm that's rolling through, and for some reason the internet just not working for us. It's like, hey, let's reschedule this for another time. And I'll tell you, sometimes what happens invariably is we'll do the standard 46 minutes, and then it'll go to 50, and then an hour, and 10, and 20, and 30. I haven't quite done a 2-hour one yet, but I'm sure it's on the horizon somewhere. Um,
How exciting.
how are there ways that we can request put a request in for
Yes,
divine intervention? However, here,
yes.
to me, this would be the proviso, though. You can anticipate it. However, you do not want to have any expectations. Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, that's the fun part of it. You can have your expectations, so you can get just crazy good about it, like the little kid. Oh, I'm going to get a red bicycle for Christmas, and they know, and they're talking about it. Okay. So this is really about manifesting, and this is my one of my favorite subjects. So everybody is manifesting. We are like magnets. We're like people magnets. And so we're drawing energetically. That's why, I came up with the 5 steps, um, the acute system for getting your intuition and your manifesting going, because energetically, everything is energy. We are
Mhm.
all made up of in a system. I call it the divine energy system of electromagnetic energy.
Mm.
So once you understand that, which it's really nice to have science come in and catch up, right? And have
Mhm.
little words for it. Um, but science, I always say, oh, people give all the credit to science. I said, that's not the origin. It's been really nice that they've found ways to understand it. And they've done, the test with different mediums, and they say, oh my gosh, I've never seen a brain do that. It's like they've never seen a brain that's fully active, yet it looks like you're fully asleep. And so these kinds of things scientifically are wonderful. But the truth of the matter is, this has been going on since, we're all in this energetic system. And
Hmm.
so if you keep positive and I'm getting from you that you really do a great job of that. So even if you have questions or something might come up, it's being worked out for you. And that's what I say. We're part of the we're like I say co-creators with
Hmm.
this divine energy system. So we're doing our part of what do we want? You have to kind of know what you want. And even what you think about is what you want. So it's all kind of created already in thought. And then you want to stay with that energy. And so I'm sensing that you've really learned a lot about manifesting. So you know that once you know what you want, you just keep that energy going.
Yeah.
And I'll go through the house and say, oh, I can't wait for the next fun client. And I don't need to know their name until the right moment. So it's that really great energy because that is higher, lighter, beautiful energy that's just like, yes, it's like green light, come right in. Now, negative energy, if we get depressed or if we focus on anxiety and all that heavy, low level
Hmm.
energy, oh, well, that's like putting up all the roadblocks and you're trying to get to Miami and you just can't get there because all these roadblocks because we are the co-creator. We're the magnet. And it doesn't have any, preferences, any special people. It's on who is going to choose the better energy, the higher energy. So I love it that that we're talking about manifesting because everybody is manifesting. They just don't realize they may not be intentionally manifesting.
Well, there's an aspect to that manifesting that still applies the anticipation without expectation too, because
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
are those who, I want lots of money. I want a huge bank account or whatever else they want to manifest. Because it seems that sort of, money, prosperity, wealth, finance, etc., sort of at the top of most people's lists,
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
Um, I'd
Well,
like to,
beliefs. I'm going to jump. If it's okay to jump in on that,
please go
because
ahead.
I think a lot of people miss their beliefs. So they say, "Hey, I'm thinking positive. I want abundance. I mean, I'm doing it." And then I go, "Okay, great." Because but your beliefs are that underground magnetism that's really what's happening. It's kind of the how of everything. So when someone tells me, "Oh no, I'm manifesting correctly," but then they tell me they're not getting everything they want in their life, I say, "Let's look at your beliefs
Mhm.
because beliefs dictate your thoughts, your words, and your behaviors." And so they run out there and say, "Oh, I want this," but their belief is still back when they think, I, my parents taught me I don't get what I want. So the beliefs run everything. And so I'm always digging. Let's go looking at that little belief a little bit. So we're really into changing beliefs. And once we change those beliefs to the higher frequency energy, then it gets really interesting.
Karoleen Fober is my guest. Karoleen Fober is the website, karoleenfober.com. We encourage you to go there. By the way, I'm going to spell it for you because we want to have you get to the right place. We'll be linked to it, of course, on both the podcast and videocast. KAROLEENFOBER.com. And opening to opening to divine intervention, it has won two Bookfest Awards, first place in 2024's American Writing Awards as the best debut nonfiction and was a finalist in two other categories. It has also won a gold medal in the Global Book Awards in spirituality and a silver in mental and spiritual healing. And we're talking with the author right here on Tell Me Your Story.
Yes.
We
Who
are here
knew?
talking with, yes, we are here talking with the author of Opening to Divine Intervention, Karoleen Fober. And there is an interesting, I'm going to find this real quickly. Here it is. there's an interesting and I think it's fascinating list, although I joke with people saying what's another word for thesaurus? You know, you've heard that
Yeah.
before, I'm sure.
Yes.
But this book is fascinating from the standpoint that it provides people. You mentioned 5 steps. My book, Choices: 5 Steps for Life, has 5 steps in it as well. But you have a list of things here that list some of these categories, some of these fascinating categories for divine intervention. And miracles. Some people would refer to them as miracles. Direct divine connection, natural healing without medical intervention, divine lessons, divine, and again, divine's going to be used a lot here in this list here, divine pivotal moments, as well as divine readings from others, self soul readings, divine asking, praying or manifesting, which we've just been talking about, which does come true, apparitions, or I should say appearances, of human, heavenly, or animal messengers. I was told that my dear dog Makushla, beautiful white shepherd Siberian Husky mix, she had a pink nose. Her name was Makushla, and I was told by one person who connects with animals on the other side, that she would be over my right shoulder, watching over me, and so I know she's over here somewhere, as well as dreams and premonitions, near-death experiences, and deathbed visions, mediumship, natural phenomenon, as well as I mentioned before, miracles. Are you, and I'm going to use this word, a seer, an intuitive?
Oh, yes, for sure.
And
Yes.
is it something that allows you to see things that most people cannot? Sometimes those apparitions or manifestations of those who have gone on?
Yes. Yes. And everyone has the ability to do it, by the way. I remember when I had my first reading after my mom died. Um, After the reading, she told me, "Oh, you're just like me." And I went, "I don't think so." I was in denial. And that's why I think I really relate to everybody, because even though I knew things since I was a child, and highly intuitive, I never added the piece of really owning it and really knowing that I could do mediumship as well, that we all can do it. It kind of frightened me a little bit. Um, and it's because all the cultural things, there's so many people that think it's a bad thing, don't believe in it. And I wasn't sure, but I was so sad when my mom died that I was in kind of a desperate place. Um, if it wasn't for my grandkids or working with clients or my family, oh, I was in bed for 2 years. So I knew that I needed help. And I basically said to God one day, I said, really, I think I need help. I need to talk to my mom. And so this other medium told me that I was just like her. And I said, "Oh, okay, this is going to take a while for me to accept it. But I want to. And if I could help people like you helped me and give me my life back, uh, oh, I told God I would want to, but only if, they thought I could, because I really wasn't connecting. And then about 2 months later, I heard a voice say to me, "Do you want to see the dead people? Do you want to see the diseased people?" Well, it caught me off guard. And I said no. But I thought about it, see? And I realized that even if I was afraid of it in the moment, which we all can be, hey, we're all afraid to get on a bicycle. We've never done that before.
Hmm.
So I just said, if I could help people, then, oh, I would say yes. And then about 2 months after that, I was with my daughter-in-law, and they had just lost a neighbor friend. I was standing right there, and he came through and had a nice message for her. And then her grandmother came through, and I was surprised, but I was also very thrilled that I could help people in the way that I had been helped. And that is the key thing. That's many times we are suffering or we are stuck or we don't know or we haven't had the experience or the practice, and we could really use some help to get unstuck. And to me, that's when it really is so amazing and beautiful. Um, because suffering and missing somebody and not being able to move on with life, it's not a good place to be. And I was there, so I relate to people that may not believe they're just like me now. So that's kind of my, my legacy, my mission. The book is really to teach, to help people see that it's actually normal and that it's very helpful and very beautiful.
Karoleen Fober is my guest here on Tell Me Your Story. We're talking about divine intervention, and we are going to continue doing that. We're talking with Karoleen Fober, and it's divine intervention on this entire interview, this conversation that we're having. God provides almost immediately sometimes, and sometimes it takes a little time. We must be patient. Sometimes not, because it, as I said, can happen almost instantly. I find it interesting too that the level of ability to communicate with those on the other side. Um, I've had a number of people over the last 45, 50 years, not including my grandmother on my mother's side. She passed away in our home the day after Thanksgiving. And it was actually a wonderful experience as I look back on it because she got to watch her favorite movie on TV with all of us in the living room together. It's The Sound of Music.
Mm.
Um,
Oh,
but in recent years, as a matter of fact, there was a year, and it was, I want to say 2022, where my wife and I lost a dear friend of ours in January who lived across the street from us in Phoenix. He was 94. He was in an assisted living facility. Yeah, that's right. And and he and I had a blast taking reel-to-reels and albums, transferring them to the computer of symphonies, orchestral pieces that he was actually playing percussion in under the tutelage, if you will, the conducting of a gentleman by the name of Maurice Bravanel, I believe was his name. In any event, then the next month, February, I lost a good friend who was one of our programmers on the station I work for today. Then late March, actually early March, my wife lost her only remaining sibling. Then I lost my eldest sister at the end of March. And then things sort of settled down until the following year. My father on March 1st, my best friend on May 1st, and then another dear friend in June. This was 23. 24 was it was a little quieter, but still, but it's like, all right, I'm 65. This is going to happen. This is
yeah.
not unusual. Now, uh, I shed some tears over the loss of my sister, remembering her bright and vibrant, toothy smile. You would see both rows of teeth when she would laugh. My father, I had one of those sob sessions, but I get impressions from him, so it's not as sad as it could be. Um, I laugh every time I think about my best friend of 53 years because we had so much fun together. And I
Yes.
have to think about accepting the choice that my friend Mike made by deciding he wanted to leave this world. And he did. He chose the method and he left.
Mhm.
And it made it, I kind of got my comeuppance because my book Choices starts out by saying to my wife at that time, my wife presently was going through cancer treatment and surgery and everything. And I asked her, I says, do you want to live or do you want to die? I may not like your choice, but I'll support you in it. And thankfully, she did. Well, from my perspective, thankfully, she chose to live and is still living to this day. So when he decided to take his life, I at first my another one of our mutual friends was just upset. Oh, how selfish and da 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 da. And I didn't say anything to him about it because that's where he's at. But it's
Yeah.
like, Mike, how could you? And then my book flashed in my head, going, "Oh, no, wait a minute, hold on. That was his choice because he did not want to be
Yeah.
saddled with a terminal treatment process."
Yes.
And it was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Don't you hate that when your words come back to bite you in the butt?
Yeah. And I really, if you've gone through it before, you understand. And the more love in the particular bond, in the animal or the person, the greater the grief.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's so much, or somebody is in pain. We cannot judge where a person is and the level of pain or lostness that they are at. Um, and I I have learned to not be so afraid of death myself, because when you know that the bond is continually, it never stops. So if so you and I, for example, we are bonding in this moment where we
Mhm.
spend some time together, we're getting to know each other, appreciate each other, and believe it or not, once we go to the spiritual realm, if I were the one to go, I could be communicating with you. If that was the most important thing for you. So I've had clients come through. I've had people that, and this is the other thing a lot of people have not experienced, but people alive will come through with messages like they know something, they feel something, and then you get a little bit of a divine hit, I call it,
Mhm.
and you're going, wow, that is so beneficial. But back to those loved ones that we've lost, both animals and humans, they are there for you. And many people I've talked to, especially after a reading, when I do a reading, there's a lot of, I'm kind of not only giving the messages, but I'm telling people what's happening. So I'm kind of helping them activate their own system.
Mhm.
And so usually after a reading, people will feel more connection with their loved ones. They will, because they're with somebody that's teaching a little bit along the way. And so it's an amazing experience to start connecting. And your loved ones, I mean, electromagnetic energy, they can turn lights on and off, they can flicker lights, they can turn a TV show on, they can turn the radio on, and a special song can be playing. So there's all these kinds of ways that they can come through to give you those little signs, those
Mm.
reminders that they haven't gone anywhere except they've changed form. We're energy, science understands this. Energy never goes away, it just transforms. And so that is a very, I think, it's a relief. I think it's very healing, very soothing to know that all the people and loved ones that you have mentioned, they're watching over you, and you probably feel them. And so you can talk to them and then notice what comes through. And that's when I said, in your own, I teach people how to do their own readings
Mm.
so that they can, actually start trusting what they're beginning to get from them. And the more you do it, it's just like anything, you'll get better and better and better at it. And that's what's so great. Um, everyone has full access, but then you don't control it. You're just opening to it, and
Mm.
then they come through. People say, well, how come this isn't happening for me? And I go, well, um how open to it are you? Are you I go around probably like you, Richard, where I'm on, I'm on
Mhm.
all the time, and sometimes the messages come through the dreams, but everybody's got full access. It's just a matter of really being aware when you think it starts happening, and you make it, you're creating the connection. You're answering the phone. The phone is ringing all day, but
Mhm.
are we answering the phone?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly right. We're talking with Karoleen Fober. We're talking about opening to divine intervention, and opening to divine intervention, expand and strengthen your intuitive abilities and spiritual connection as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host here on Tell Me Your Story. And if you aren't a believer in divine intervention yet, you will be once you read this book. And Karoleen, I should say, demonstrates how we have been divinely designed to receive messages from God or the universe's electromagnetic spiritual communication system. One of the things that comes to mind is the author James Redfield, who I've had on this program, who wrote the Celestine Prophecy. And in it, he talks about how we all have messages one for the other, and that we need to be open to receiving those messages. Now, he's referring, of course, to those who are here with us, who are walking and talking and so forth.
Mhm.
But it's also from the other side as well. One of the things that I started to recognize when I would go to an intuitive, a medium, whatever term you want to use,
Mhm.
I was never going to them to get answers that I didn't already have. I was looking for confirmation. Is that
Yes.
kind of what happens? Even if the person consciously is there going, yeah, I need answers to these questions. If they
Yeah.
would but pause for a moment and listen, they would realize that they have the answers and it's okay to go ahead and get confirmation as well.
Yes. And I love that you brought that up, Richard, because I think more and more people are really they're paying attention more. They may not be, let's say, totally totally communicating on their highest level, but oh, they're getting messages, they're getting these experiences that it seems so real, and they don't know what to do with it because, you know, everybody's talking about the weather or the football game instead of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And I say, oh, this is the only game in town. Um, because this is where we're really getting messages that change our life. They're pivotal, they're confirming. And so, yes, I'm one of those people that I want people to ask me questions. A lot of times people say, a medium will say, well, don't talk. I'm like, oh no. I want you to come with questions if you'd like. I want you to make notes, and you might have questions that pop in as we're talking. I want people's questions answered, and I will, I'm only given what I'm given. And I say, people say, well, I'm worried about being wrong. I can do it maybe for myself, but how would I do it for other people? I said, well, that's the trick. But you really need to trust. And that acute system to really help you activate and go deeper with your um, abilities is really to accept first and then claim it for yourself. It's one thing to talk about it and know that intuition is fully alive, but it's another thing to say, oh, yeah, and it's happening to me. And then the U is for utilizing all of the tips and strategies that help you you know, elevate your abilities. And then T is trust. Really start trusting. And there's even tools you can use a pendulum to read the energy and test it. And I teach people how to do that as well. And it's in the book. And then that last fifth step, enjoy it. If your energy is you can be a little bit like, oh, it's a first time. But if you're like, oh, this is going to be great, I'm looking forward to this. I wonder what will happen. Do you see how that's a lighter energy than, oh, this is going to, I'm scared. I don't know. So if you're open to it, it's going to be simpler for you to hear what the messages are. I mean, I've had readings where people I think are so kind of stuck that I can deliver a message and they didn't even hear me. So a lot of times I will say, oh, you need to write that one down because I
Mm.
can almost tell they're thinking something else. And oh, I just delivered a major message for them. And so I have to also, I'm reading their energy too. I'm bringing it all together for the best kind of experience that they can have. So I love it that you talked about getting confirmation from
Mhm.
what you're already experiencing so that you can start building your and increasing your ability, which is what everybody wants. When I help people, my clients, I help them leverage intuition, and they go, leverage intuition. I'm just trying to figure intuition out. And I said, right, you can leverage intuition. Hey, I picked the title for my book from using divine energy and my intuition. I've hired people based on it. Um, Making big decisions in life, making any choice in life, if you are bringing in the spiritual realm, you're going to get the highest energy available for you, to guide you. So who wouldn't want that? But so many of us, if you're still poo-pooing it, you're kind of missing the boat. And that's my work. My work is to really help everyone have the same kinds of experiences and help that I'm receiving day by day.
Mm.
And yeah,
You know, it's
that's
truly extraordinary. The opportunities as well as the abilities that we have. You know, it is said that we were created in the image and likeness of God.
yes,
All right. Well, the best example for me would be a hologram. Okay. And in school, they show this film where they had this big sheet of glass, and it was treated in such a way to where they put an image on it, like just like a photograph. And what was interesting is
yes.
as they would turn the glass, the image would turn. It was fascinating. But then they broke the glass.
Hmm.
And in every large piece of that broken glass was the full image. And to
Mhm.
me, that is what it's talking about. Not
Yes,
only in the image and likeness, but with all of the same capacity. I don't know whether we have the power to create planets and universes. Okay, we won't go that far. Okay, let's keep it down to earth, so to speak. Um, but manifesting again, going back to the anticipation without expectation, uh, I have put forth on a monetary level to the universe. Initially, it's three parts. The first one is, I'm content. I'm happy. I've been here for 19 years, 18 and a half years. Okay, my income hasn't gone up much, but I'm still living here in one of the most expensive places on earth to live. It's beautiful. Then the second one was, and I want more. And you heard me say it, and I want more.
yeah,
And then I thought,
yes,
maybe I need to be a little more specific. And so I said, okay, I'm content and I want more. And I want to start with $100,000. All right. And of course, I've been told by many people, okay, but you have to believe it. You have to believe that it's there right now. And, all those different manifesting
yes,
techniques and tools. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I think it'll just be about doing what it is that I'm here to do. Be of service to people, do these interviews, produce programs, work with others to do this, that. Just be there, and the universe knows what I want. I've made it abundantly clear. I don't think I need to keep reciting it every single day because it's inside me that, boy, that would just go a long way to help me, to help my wife, to help others as well. Um, because I will tell you that one of the things that I want to do is we're going to take 10 grand of that and we going to Ireland for 2 to 3 weeks or
oh, I love
longer.
that. I
So
love that.
yeah. So that's the other aspect of this whole aspect of manifesting that we were talking about earlier, because it seems as though there's a two sides to this. Number one is, okay, I've put it out there. I don't need to put it out again. The universe knows it's in here, and I just let it be and I go about my life. And the
Yeah,
universe will bring it about. Then there's the
yes,
other part that says, no, you got to keep badgering the universe. You've got to keep hammering away and hammering away, and because eventually the universe will get annoyed enough, and I don't think that actually happens, but the universe will get annoyed enough and say, okay, all right, here. I'm not sure
yeah.
that it actually works that way, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's pieces of it that are yes, and pieces of it that I might like let go. And what you were describing. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. I know that manifesting works. So, and we all get busy doing other little things. One of my favorite manifesting examples was just last year. And the book had been out about 6 months, and I said, "Hey," I said, and I was talking to my angels, the spiritual realm, God, all of everybody, because I think, "Hey, come on in, everybody, let's huddle up." I'm saying, I really think that this book would be so great if we had a major article, if we had a major newspaper write about it. Okay. And then I go, wouldn't that be so great? And then I'm clapping my hands, and then I just move on. Now, the point is, I don't usually revisit some of the stuff unless it naturally occurs to me to get all excited about it. So I don't sit there and think of it like homework. I'm not sitting there, oh, I think I need to do more. I just like, oh yeah, that. Oh yeah, I can't wait, can't wait. Oh, that's going to be so great. Wonder who's going to call. Okay, 8 days later, senior editor from Woman's World magazine called me and emailed me and said, "We would really like to interview you about intuition." And I went, oh, that's 8 days later, people.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to ask her, how did you find me? Oh, I went on Amazon. I said, oh, okay. What'd you do? Oh, I punched in intuition, tips for intuition. And I said, and my book popped up. She said, your book popped up. Okay, I don't know how Amazon works. All I know is just see how happy and light I am, and I don't care. I'm just like, I don't care. Oh, but wouldn't that be cool? Oh, that would be
Hmm.
so cool. And I remember little kids. It's that purity. It's that, oh, I can't wait. I know it's going to happen. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter. And then I'm moving on. So I don't have, and if you notice in that, there's a lot of just blissfulness in it. I don't sit there, oh, I think I want that one. No, I don't,
Yeah.
I'd never heard of Woman's World magazine, to tell you the truth. I thought it was maybe a fluke, but oh no, they have 6 million subscribers just from their magazine. And then they have the online. So my point is this: be that 5 year old, be the 5 year old. Don't get too nutty. I mean, you can get a little nutty if you're having fun with it. You see,
Hmm.
where you might say, oh, well, that's too much. Well, no, maybe this. And so suddenly it's all of that micromanaging, and the left brain takes over. So the left brain is really supposed to be at 50%. For most people, it's working 95% of the time. Our right brain, which is our intuitive side, should be working a nice balance, 50-50. Most people, it's 95 in the left and 5% in the right brain. I mean, it's dismal. So that's why I'm telling people, you got to lighten up. You got to get that intuition going. You got to just stop all the control and just say, oh, it's just going to happen. I don't need to know when. And so I'm very light about it, but I'm also very certain because I have got a spiritual team that I'm talking to every day. And I mean, I take it very lightly, but I'm serious about it. If
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
it's that
Yeah.
50-50. Oh, I know it's there. And I know when it's the right time for me, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it's very balanced.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm always 50-50, but if you're trying to micromanage things and then, oh, I don't know, is that too much? Is that too much? Am I being too greedy? I mean, do you see? You're just pulling it all away. You just took away all the fun yumminess about it.
Yeah.
And they say we're underutilizing our spiritual team. Like I had actually somebody say, I think I'm asking for too much. I said, oh no, my guides tell me no. We're underutilizing our asking. So that's a big mistake right there. We're not asking for enough. And then two, then we start micromanaging our ask. We start going, I don't know. I don't know. Me, I just send it right up and know that in the right time. And if I think about it again as I'm having lunch 2 weeks later, I'm going, oh, I can't wait for that magazine article. And
Mhm.
I'm just like crazy silly about it. And so think of a 5-year-old and how excited they get, and they're so pure about it. They're not gonna let anything get in the way. They're just like, yep, I'm gonna get that red bicycle.
Mm. Well, I
And they're
mean,
having fun with it.
you used, I think, an appropriate term, excited like a child. And I was just, what flashed in my mind was when I was a kid growing up in the backyard, my father and mother and father's house, because it was theirs, technically. And
Right.
my father had planted a row of oleander bushes along the back fence. It was a chain link fence, only about 4 feet high. But he planted these
Yeah.
oleanders as a barrier for people going down the alley because back then the garbage men, the sanitation engineers, if you will, would go along the back of the house or down that alley on both sides, taking those metal garbage cans and bang, 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 get the garbage out and so forth. And there was this one little corner in the back there where we would get all of this. I don't know where all of this wood came from. All I know is it was there, and we would build these forts. Now, we would get excited about the prospect. And then all of the sudden, as kids, we would get real serious about building it and nailing this and doing that and making sure. And then this was in the summertime during summer vacation. We would invariably step on a nail here and there, but we'd keep going. We'd pull the nail out
Yes. Yeah.
and there ain't no way it would ever have it was condemned before it was ever built, but it was our fort and that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
But we were having fun and yet we were serious about it in that respect.
Yeah.
So I absolutely understand that I mean, you watch the little kids and they're at play, but what they're doing, you look at the face. All right. And
Yeah.
yeah, they're still having fun, but boy, they are focused. They're in the
Yeah.
zone. And
Oh,
that's really
yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like to do, and I actually did it with a group I was talking to 2 weeks ago, it was a live event. I had everybody put their hands up like this,
Hmm.
like a V. And notice the title, Divine Intervention with that V.
Hmm.
That V means up to God. You're communicating. So I put
Oh.
the arms up and then I bring them down really fast. I tell people you're reaching out to the highest wisdom ever. And then you're going to take it just like this.
Hmm.
And that's how quickly a divine message can come in. And
Yeah.
that's why I say it's like boom, they know everyone, they know what's going on. And then boom, you get that divine hit that if you like, wow, what was that? If you start responding to these hits, big and little, you then will begin activating and making that energy connection stronger and stronger and stronger so that you won't miss even the little ones. And
Mm.
that's why I say if you start having a love affair with this and put this as your priority, then it's like constantly there. And I tell people, I rarely worry about anything anymore because I know spiritual communication has my back and they're going to help me and they're going to help me help other people.
Yeah.
I was on a class and a woman started talking that I knew. I was taking notes and all of a sudden I was taking notes and she started talking. I went like that. Like I looked at her on the Zoom call and then immediately I was given John, John, John. And I said, oh, that is a message for her. I don't know exactly what it is, but I wrote that thing down.
Hmm.
And then we all get busy, but I direct message her on my phone. And 2 weeks later, I thought, oh, I'm so sorry. It's taken me so long. But I heard John, John, John when you were talking 2 weeks ago. And I think it's supposed to be a business contact for you. So pay attention to who you're talking, especially maybe new people.
Hmm.
Okay. So that day, that next couple hours we were on the Zoom call again and she was trying to text me like, you can't believe, Karoleen, what happened? And I was like, well, what happened? I didn't know what she was talking about. But she said she'd been at a coffee shop having coffee and she saw a guy come in that had the sweatshirt of her alma mater, college alma mater. She said, I have to go talk to him. She went over and talked to him and they got talk. What do you do? She said, I'm a coach. And he says, my wife needs to hire you. She goes, okay, let's get the information. Guess what his name was?
John.
John. So it's that kind of fun stuff that if you start making it more of a priority, start meditating, meditate every day, you're going to expand that connection to the point where you're going to start, instead of missing or being confused or wondering, you're going to go, oh, that was a hit. I heard that. I saw that. I felt that. Ooh, and it felt like it was for my sister. So you want to go with what you think.
Yeah.
I call it first thought. Your
Mm-hmm.
first thoughts are usually the right ones.
Mm-hmm.
Not always, but most of the time I say follow your first thought. Don't start backtracking because you'll talk yourself right out of it. Oh, I can't tell her John. It means nothing. It's so stupid. No, I'm at that point where I pay attention to everything. I do my best of connecting when I get hits to when I can do it. All even when it's not in the right time. Do you see how, oh, she was having that experience? So I just tell people stay with it. Understand it's the most helpful thing yes, you can see, you can hear, but imagine your spiritual team helping you in every moment. And if you're just a little more aware and going, oh yeah, what's next? I'm like, what's next? What do you got for me? But it's very light. And I know I'm not demanding anything. I'm just going, oh yes, I'll take it. So I'm taking those messages. And my question for everyone is, are you taking those messages?
Mm. Mm.
So fantastic.
It really is. It really is. We are talking with here on the program, we're talking with Karoleen Fober, and we're talking about divine intervention and her book, Opening to Divine Intervention. And again, it goes right along with the 2020s, the decade of perfect vision. The first year was the year of perfect vision. And the why that came to me, and it was explained that of course, it's perfect vision because it's exclusively for you. The beauty is, there was a time when I was looking for a place on the planet that I could go get away from everybody, and nobody could find me. And
Wow.
the realization was, well, it wasn't so much to get off the grid, it was just to get away for a short time. And the reality
Yeah,
was, the insight was, you do realize if you can find it, so can they. And then it was revealed to
absolutely.
me, but there is one place on the planet, if you will, where nobody but you can get to. And that's inside, that inner life. So I encourage people during the year of perfect vision, the decade of perfect vision, to spend that time going within and listening to that still small voice. And I even used the phrase at one point, and someone said, that's a little harsh, don't you think? But I used the phrase, and if you're going to listen, then following the promptings. If you're not going to follow the promptings, why are you listening? I kind of got,
Abs-
yeah, let's not go down that road.
yeah.
But it is important. And I remember a program I went through in the 80s called LifeSpring. And we were instructed to take this long white piece of construction paper and a Sharpie, and we were to write a statement. And interestingly enough, my statement was, and at first it was in cursive. All right. It was, I will listen to, and then the next line I did in block letters, and follow the promptings of my friend. Now, I refer to my intuition as my friend.
I love that.
Because my friend, because my intuition is. Um,
Yes,
and I tell people that your friend might, if you choose to use that phrase, might challenge you, but will never, ever put you in harm's way. Okay. Uh, I've been tested.
absolutely.
I've been tested. Uh, I use this example when I was bicycling everywhere back in Phoenix and I was headed to work one day and I had to travel through between farm fields and they were a mile square. And this was out in West Phoenix, in a small town called Tolleson, Arizona, where the transmitter was. And I'm on my way and I'm getting this prompting as I'm coming up on this one intersection. make a right, and then make a left, and then make a left, and then make a right. And I'm going, that's going to take me 3 miles out of my way. Come on. It's the
Yeah.
old, that's my plan to keep going straight, and God's laughing. And I go half mile past that intersection and the prompting would not go away. Now, this was still my choice. I turned around and I
Yeah.
went. Only this time it was a left, a left, a left, and then a right. And I tried to figure out why in the world would my intuition, my friend, tell me to do that? Did I avoid an accident or something? There were no other cars on the road anywhere. And then it dawned on me, had nothing to do with avoiding or coming upon anything. The statement that was being made was, you say you trust me. Now, do you?
Yeah.
And every day when I do trust, it gets easier and easier. And I don't know that it'll ever become second nature per se. But it seems to me that a lot of people, they get those messages and they do indeed ignore them. And then they wind up in a situation that they kind of wish they hadn't gotten into. And this had nothing to do with their intuition.
Yeah. That happened to me the major time that I just went back into my logical brain. I was hit by a car,
Ooh.
and that story is in the book of, how I was told before I was hit that this car was going to hit me, and I went into, oh, I don't think so. I think I'll slow down, and this, you start overriding the
Mhm,
messages.
mhm,
And that was a big mistake. Now, I was helped in that accident, but the car, I went black. It all went dark. I at the hit, but my car, I still don't know how it landed where it did. I just remember spinning and dark. And I don't
mm,
remember anything about the accident, but my car was placed down on the road again. I should have landed in somebody's cornfield, basically, is where I should have landed because I was
mhm.
hit like that. So I should be
Yeah.
going like that. And I was told later that I was helped by one of my paternal grandfather. It was either my paternal grandfather or his father that came and got me out of that.
Mm.
And I wasn't
Wow.
hurt, but the
Hmm.
car was, pretty much demolished. I
Wow.
could drive it,
Yeah.
but everybody that saw that car thought I had died.
Well, Caroline, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us about your impressions and your version, if you will, of divine intervention. I think this is exciting because what we're trying to do is get people to rely on that divine intervention, that intuition, that still small voice, instead of all of the other voices that are out there that are telling us, um, this, that, and the other thing, that you aren't good enough, you aren't strong enough, fast enough, you're a victim, you're not responsible, it's everybody else's fault. The list goes on and on. In addition to the other voices in our head, in our intellect. All right, this is separate from where the intuition is coming from, that are also not giving us some of the greatest messages. And so I encourage people to go and get a copy. Is your book yet available in Audible?
Not yet. That's what I'm hoping to get done in 2025, sometime here, mid 2025.
Then you and I will talk when this interview is over. All right?
Okay, thank you so much.
You bet. I thank you so much for being with us, and I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., and streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com with podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, and we're on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. Please subscribe and then click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified. We also want to remind you that Choices, 5 Steps for Life, is available on Amazon, and it is in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle with the Audible soon to come. I am finishing up the recording, and I will be posting that just as soon as I can figure out how to do that. They have made it so darn complicated that I've got to call them and say, I don't understand how to do this. Please help me. It should not be that difficult, and I will get it up there just as soon as I can. And if that doesn't work, I will find another way to get it to you, folks. Also, a reminder that if you'd like to be a part of the work that we are doing, we can use all the financial help we can get. We have a PayPal account that's there for your security as well as ours. Just put in my email address when it asks for it. And a reminder that on richarddugan.com, the homepage, there are links both to the book on Amazon as well as to the PayPal account. And so just click on those and boom, you're right there. And we thank you, thank you, thank you for those who have helped and for those who will help. And also, just another reminder to take that time during this, the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to, and please follow the promptings of that still, small voice. And with all of that, we have 3 final questions for our very special guest. And the first of those 3 questions is, and here we go, who is Karoleen Fober?
Well, I am an intuitive and business consultant. I work with clients all over the United States, and I love to help people that are either newly awakening to their intuition or know they're really intuitive, but they really want to expand that and to leverage it for their business and their life. And I I love teaching. I'm a teacher. So when I do the readings, I'm going to be teaching as well.
Wonderful. What is it that gets you up in the morning?
Oh, well, that is one of my favorite little tips. I don't get out of bed until I find something that I really want to do. And I get creative. And I try to explain one of my philosophies is this is a want to world, not a have to. And
Mm-hmm.
so I get to do this, and it seems like I'm having fun instead of really working. So I might say, you know what? I'm going to try in my new shoes with my pants to see how that looks today. That'll get me out of bed. So I just let myself really enjoy as much of every day as I can. And I'm having fun. I'm thinking, ooh, what could I do next? Who could I talk to? Who wants to hire me? I mean, I'm having that kind of a ongoing conversation all the time.
That's why I love taking the train.
I
Final
love that.
question. Final
Okay.
question. What was your best day?
Hmm. Wow. What was my best day? Well, I will tell you. Pretty every day is pretty great. But I must tell you, when I got that first reading, and I was being a little cautious, and it was after my mom had died, and she started telling me, and I said, I'm not going to even respond. I'm taking notes, but I'm not even going to respond until I have 3 major hits that I knew, okay, this is real. So I was kind of testing, and I told her up front, so she didn't bother her at all. She was just having the best time. And she really loved my mother. And 17 people came through for me that day. And she told me, she said, I never have this many people come through.
Hmm.
And I said, I know why they came through. And she said, why? I said, because they knew how much I was struggling. They knew how much I was suffering. They came through to prove to me that love never goes away. The love bonds never go away. That was a moment I took notes, 3 pages of notes, and that changed everything in my life.
Hmm.
It was a great day. I
Wonderful.
cried that whole hour though. Of joy. I couldn't believe it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you again, Caroline, for joining us here on the program and for sharing your story with the rest of us. And we look forward to having you back in the not too distant future to continue this conversation. My personal belief is that it is important that we keep talking about these things and reminding
Yeah.
people that these things are available to us all. And thank you so much for the book, and congratulations on all those wonderful accolades on the book as well.
Thank you so much. This has just been wonderful, Richard. Truly wonderful.
And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.